Finally, we are going to combine all of this knowledge in graphing functions where more than one transformation is required. We're going to do the transformations in the following order. First, the horizontal shift, then the reflection, and finally the vertical shift. For example 11, the square root of x is the graph that looks this way. So this x plus 4, remember, to be equal to 0, x needs to be negative 4. So the new beginning is going to be at negative 4. But not negative 4 exactly, because we're going to minus 2 from this equation. So instead of me graphing here, sketching here, that graph here, I'm gonna go, oh no, it needs to be negative 2 down. So it's negative 4 back, negative 4 back. And we're going to also do 2 down. So negative 2 down. So I'm gonna start from right here. And that first point, which originally was 1, 1, well, I need to go 1 minus 4, which is at negative 3. So you write that down. The original point 1, 1, the x value is going to be 1 minus 4, and the y value is going to be 1 minus 2. Or that's negative 3, negative 1. Right here. What else? Some other point. Let me take another point. The other point would be 4, 2. We're doing from 4 we are going back 4, and from 2 we are going to down. So that's the point 0, 0. So let's graph. So that new graph is going to look like this. Use transformations to graph absolute value of x, negative absolute value of x plus 3. We graphed, first of all, absolute value of x looks like that. Negative of it is going to be this graph flipped in respect of y-axis. Well, I need to add 3 to this equation, means I need to bring it up with 3 units. So the whole graph is gonna come somewhere like here. Let me write the names of those. So that's absolute value of x, that's going to be negative absolute value of x, and that's going to be negative absolute value of x plus 3. And here, to be more precise, will be square root of x, that will be square root of x plus 4, and that will be square root of x plus 4 minus 2. Let's talk about the domain and the range of those. Let me take some other color. So the domain is going to be what are the x-axis values, and it looks like they start from negative 4 and go to positive infinity. For the other function, it looks like there is no limitation for x, so the domain is going to be from negative infinity to infinity. Let's look at the ranges. Well, the range, it looks like the lowest point is at -2, and this graph is gonna go up. And you may not see it on that picture, but this function is gonna continue because of the arrow until infinity. So the range is gonna have the lowest possible value of -2 and goes up to positive infinity. And for the absolute value, it looks like the uppermost point is at 2 and the graph is all down here, keep going indefinitely down. So and again, I want to say my range from small to big. So the small would be the negative infinity. So negative infinity to 2, and 2 itself is included. Other examples, x plus 3 squared, negative in front of it, so 3 different combinations of transformations need to be done. And remember, I'm going to start from first finding where the origin is from the horizontal shift. Then I'm going to do the reflection, and finally I'm going to do the plus 4, which is the vertical shift. So x plus 3 squared. So first of all, the x square, this x square here. Since it's plus 3, x plus 3 is gonna be 0 when x is equal to 3, or my -3. So my next shift is gonna come to -3. So that will be x plus 3 squared, original being x squared. Now I'm gonna look at the reflection. The reflection would make that curve to go negative direction, that parabola to go opposite. So that's negative x plus 3, or all the y values that were originally positive, they become negative values. And finally, we have a horizontal shift of a vertical shift of plus 4. So this graph, the last one that I graphed, is gonna move with 4 units up. So the final answer is gonna look like that. If I wanna use some points for orientation, the original value 0, 0. Well, the x, we decided it moved to -3. We went plus 3, so it went to -3. What happened to the y value was 4 was added to it, so went to plus 4. If I take another point, let's say 1, the original point 1, 1. Well, I was taking away 3, so 1 minus 3, and then I was adding. I was shifting first, making that 1 to be -1, and then I'm adding 4 to it. So shift first down and then add 4. So that point would be -2, 4 minus 1 is 3. If I need another point, let's say -1, 1. What did I do to it? Well, to the -1, I took away 3, so it became -4. And what else? To the 1, I shifted it, so -1, and then I did plus 4, which again, that's a 3. So 3 points if needed to be graphed. Example 14. Let's see. I need to do negative f of x. F of x is given. So that means for this point, I want to put negative sign in front of it. So instead of 4, it become -4. this point that originally was 1, well, negative up front of it is gonna come to 1. And those two points are connected with a line. Then that point here, which originally was at 2, needs to go at -2. So I'm gonna go down here. That point which originally was at 0 for the y value, well, it's gonna stay at 0 because -0 is still 0. Now that point for y, which y was 1, with the -1 in front of it, become -1. And here that looks like being 5, with the negative value is gonna be -5. And it looks like it's a little bit curved here. So here, that's g of x. Let's answer what's the domain and the range of those values, of those graphs. Domain, and I'm looking at the purple graph. I'm looking at the purple graph here, that point being 3, -3, 4. So what's the domain? Well, the domain didn't change. Parabola, everything is possible to be plugged in, so the domain, it looks like it's still all the values from -infinity to infinity. Let's answer what's the domain for example 14. Well, it looks like the domain only goes between -4 is what I see, and 2. So it looks like the domain is only between those two values, -4 and 2. Let's answer what's the range. Well, the range for that purple parabola is gonna be ending at 4 and has all the values up to -infinity. So again, start from the smaller value to the bigger. That's gonna be -infinity up to 4, and 4 itself is included. And for the range of that new g of x, it looks like the upper possible value is at 0, and there are values up to right here. So it looks like those are all the y values possible. And starting from the lowest value to the upper value, the range is going to be from -5 to 0. And with this, I conclude this lesson.